Okay, so here's the first question. We're just going to be going through these questions as fast as we can. Now, what I want you to remember, my students, is that when this is so, factorization, I'm going to even explain to you. There is a type of question that I wanted to explain to you, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain to you today, but I'm going to explain to you something very important. Let me see if I can share it with you guys right now. Maybe I can. I don't know. Let me see. Uh, want to share with you a certain document so that I show you why we are doing everything we are doing. Okay, so let me just okay, so I want to explain to you why you have been doing all this factorization, and I want to show you a question which you're gonna get, which makes you understand everything. Here's the document. I can also look for it in this. Want to see if they also have it in here. Almost, but not. They don't. Let me send it again. Almost done. Trying to open it real quick. Okay, whilst it's loading, let's go through. So here is what we said about factorization. It's still loading, but we cannot wait. When we talked about factorization as a class, we know what makes us very good is we understand what we are doing and we follow steps. So we know that in factorization, when we talked about factorization, there are four methods only. So this is how we solve. Don't change, students, right? Lenny, don't change. How many methods do you have for factorization, Lenny? Four methods. Four methods. Well done. And you know that there is factorization by grouping. And this one you do it when you have four terms, right, Lenny? You do it when you have four terms. Then you can factorize by grouping, which means you look at two terms at a time. And then we have difference of two squares. The method number two is difference of two squares. So difference of two squares. We know that we use it when we have only square numbers, which we said square numbers and square terms are answers you get when you multiply a number by itself. 1 times 1, 1. So 1 is a square number. 2 times 2, 4. 3 times 3, 9. 4 times 4, 16. So 16 is a square number. 5 times 5, 25. Those things, if you get something like this, 5x squared minus 25, you use difference of two squares here to factorize. Then we know that the third method is basic factorization, or we can say third is factorization of quadratic trinomials. That's what we are looking at more today and what we use that for. And then the fourth one is basic factorization, which you use when all three methods above don't work. Basic factorization is when you have something which is ugly. It's not four terms. It's not square numbers subtracting each other. It's not a quadratic trinomial. So you use basic factorization. Basic factorization is where you look for a number that's common, you factor it out, then you look for a letter that's common and you factor it out. So this part I need all of you to remember. Now we're going deeper because the reason you do this one, factorization of quadratic trinomials and stuff, is because you are going to be using this to actually solve problems. Real life problems. Real life problems, guys. You can model them as an equation. So an equation is something real. Now, when you are solving it, you are trying to find its solutions. So we are going to be finding its solutions, and the way of finding its solution of quadratic, so the equations you'll be solving will be quadratic equations. If somebody comes to you and say, hey, what's a quadratic equation? You think you know everything. Huh? Mr. Smart Alec, you think you know everything. What's a quadratic equation? You say to them, I may not know everything, but I know what a quadratic equation is. The word quadratic means the highest power of x. If you look for x, you look for the x with the biggest power, the number, this small numbers on top. The highest power of x you see is 2. So for quadratic, there's an x to the power of 2 somewhere. And if it's an equation, it will have an equal sign somewhere. We don't care where the equal sign is. So quadratic equation is something with an x squared as the highest power. So there's no x cubed, there's x squared and just an x and nothing. Or just x squared only, but x squared has to be there. And it has an equal sign, that's why it's an equation. Now, when we're solving this guy, we always do it by factorization. And either we'll use basic factorization or we'll use quadratic trinomials. Trinomials is when we have 3 things. So let's solve. Let's do questions more. Then I'll explain better. I don't want to get too deep in explanation. Let's do the math. Let's do the solving. So we get this one. Solve this. So you write 2x squared is equal to 72. Rule number 1 is you need it to be equal to 0. Anything which is quadratic, you need it to be equal to 0 to solve it, or else you can't solve it. I'll explain to you later why you need to make it equal to 0. But just remember, you need to make it equal to 0. In other words, you need to take all the terms to one side and leave nothing on the other side. Because when you leave 0, it means you have left nothing on the other side. Am I being heard? Students? Yes. So we take everything and we take them to the side where x squared is positive. So we take 72. We say, hey, 72, come on. Go to that other side. And 72 say, okay. So you get with 2x squared, 72 comes, it becomes minus 72. It'll be equal to nothing on the other side. So you put a 0. Now you can solve. How? By factorization. By grouping doesn't work. You don't have 4 things. Difference of 2 squares doesn't work. 2 is not a square number. You don't multiply any number by itself to get 2. There's no such thing. So quadratic trinomials, this one doesn't work again because you don't have 3 things. So you have to use basic factorization to solve this one. You look for a number which is common, 2. You look for a letter that is common. No letter is common there. So 2 into 2x squared, you just remain with an x squared minus. Then you now say 72 divided by 2, you get 36. This will be equal to 0. This is what you get now. Now, what you know is that when 2 things are multiplying to give you 0, it means one of them is 0 or both of those things are 0. Now 2 can't be 0, but we see that this 2 is multiplying this to give us an answer of 0. So automatically it means this is the 0 because it should be 2 times 0. That's the only way you get an answer of 0. So here we can say x squared minus 36 is equal to 0 actually. Okay, you can already say let x squared minus 36 equal to 0. Now, here, when it's like this, you can do many things to solve. You can use difference of two squares, okay, to factorize. That's one way of doing it, to say, I have an x squared and I have a 36. These are square numbers. You square root, here you get an x. You square root, here you get a 6. So you make two brackets, x minus 6 multiplying x plus 6. And it is still equal to 0. We have just changed this x squared minus 36. We have changed it. Now, once you get to this situation, then you are good. So, students, don't fail to factorize just because the other side is now a 0. You don't want to see a 0 on the other side. So, you start to forget everything we've been doing. Are you going to do that? Really, Lenny? You know how to factorize. You're not going to fail because you are now making it the other side equal to 0. If the other side is equal to 0, that's exactly what you must do. If it's quadratic, the other side should be equal to 0 all the time. And you must find a way to factorize. So now you have factorized. Why have I factorized, sir? Why did you force me to factorize? Because when you have it now in this form, you have two things multiplying to give you 0. Now you can find the solution. Because the rule that we say is that when two things multiply to give you 0, either one of them is 0 or both are 0. So that means either this first part is 0 or this second part is 0 or both are 0. So you're going to say x minus 6 is equal to 0. And also x plus 6 could be equal to 0. Now you take 6 to the other side, you get x equal to 6. Or you get plus 6 to the other side, you get x equal to negative 6. And you have solved. These are the solutions. Am I being heard? Hi, Aman. How are you, Aman? Am I being heard, students? Have you seen this? There are rules that you as my students should not break. We have worked so hard in seeing how to factorize. We worked so hard. Now we have it as an equation. That's actually great. That's why we've been learning how to factorize, so that we can solve equations that are quadratic. And I taught you how to see it's a quadratic equation. Look at the highest power of x. If you see the highest power of x being 2, like this, and you see an equal sign, and you see them say solve, wake up. Come on now. Try to factorize there. But the only way to factorize is get everything to one side. If they say solve an equation, you're not going to solve it if 72 is that side. Get everything to one side. So you have to take it to that side. Everything is on one side. You've got 0 on the other side. That's the perfect scenario. Now factorize using all the hard work you've been doing. You know how to factorize, so factorize. Check method 1. We factorize using these 4. We write down those 4 somewhere, and you see, oh, by grouping doesn't work. Difference of two squares didn't work at first. The quadratic trinomials didn't work at first, so we used basic factorization. All right. Now here's one where it's actually not an equation. It's just it's called an expression. When they give you something like this, no equal sign, nothing, we call it an expression. And they're asking you to factorize. Now, all we have to do every single time, the first step would be to rewrite what we have been given. So x squared plus 4x minus 12. This is the one we've been given. Now we're going to say this is going to be equal to, we continue. Don't make it equal to 0. Nobody gave you an equal sign. Don't put an equal sign which wasn't there. Here the equal sign was already there. That's why we kept it. We just took 72 to the other side. The equal sign is not there here. We are creating an equal sign. So we'll be going down saying which is equal to, because it's an expression. Now we need to factorize this. What is this? This is a quadratic trinomial. Why do you say quadratic? It has 3 things. It has the highest power of x being 2. So, quadratic things. I know you'll be a lot in my IGCSE paper. I am expecting you. Now, this is a trinomial because it has 3 things. The only way to factorize, we said, you take this last digit. If there is a 1, you first check in front. If there is a 1 only, then okay, you take this last digit as it is, you put it on a T with your pencil like this. Then you start to put the factors. Factors of who? Of 12. Don't look at the negative. Put the factors of the positive 12. That's 1 and 12. Then that's 2 and 6. Ignore the negative for now, but make sure you move with it. We'll talk about it. There's 2 and 6. Then the next number after 2 is 3. Can it go into 12? Yes, and 4. Then the next number after 3 is 4. You don't write it down because you've already written it down. Now we need to find which ones are the factors. Here they are multiplying to give you negative. What does it mean when things multiply to give a negative term? It means they have different signs. So we are getting a negative 12. Once you see, listen now. This is the part where if you people as students master it, I will be on cloud 9. My job is done. Okay, I will never ever fear for you. Amanda, I know you butcher any question you get any day of the week. But you must follow the processes. Don't ever change and start using common sense or these other senses that you have. I don't want them. Use what we agree on. So here's what I'm saying now if you're listening. Right. This is a negative 12. You now look at this. Whenever you see yourself having a negative value here, just know that these numbers have to have different signs. Okay? They need to have I didn't say they need to have positive or negative. I didn't say that. I said they need to have different signs. So the 1 and the 12 should not have the same sign. The 2 and the 6 should not have the same sign. The 3 and the 4 cannot have the same sign. And the reason that happens is because this guy's negative. Negative things are made by multiplying things with different signs. So they have different signs. We agree on that one. Now we want to know who is positive, who is negative. Is it these big ones that are going to be positive, then automatically the small ones will be negative, or is it vice versa? You come and you look here at the middle term. The sign of the middle term will be the sign of the bigger one. This method you use when you have negative here, which means they are going to have different signs. So this positive 4 tells you that the big ones are positive. Automatically the small ones will be negative. So this becomes negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3. Then you combine them and you see who will give you a 4. 12 minus 1, no. 6 minus 2, yes. 4 minus 3 is the 1, so it's out. So it's 6 minus 2. So we have our things. It's x minus 2 and x plus 6. You are done. Are we together? Now, hence or otherwise solve this equation. So now let's solve the equation. They said x squared. When you see them say hence, it means you're going to use the answer from the first step to continue with the second step. Trust me. So hence or otherwise, what do we have? We have now x squared plus 4x, okay, minus 12 being now equal to 0. This is now a quadratic equation. And how do you solve it? By factorizing. That's the reason why you'll be learning factorization, so you can solve it. So we got to factorize this. Do we know how to factorize it? We've already done it in step 1. So that means we can just use those answers. X minus 2, x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now we have two things multiplying. These two brackets are next to each other. They are multiplying and giving us an answer of 0. So it means both of them are zeros like that. That's the assumption we make. So x minus 2 is 0 and x plus 6 is 0, which means you take 2 to the other side, you get x equal to 2. Here you get x equal to negative 6. So you have your solutions. Are we together? X equal to 2 and x equal to negative 6. Now we come to this one. Solve. I don't know how to solve. Look at what type. Look at the question you've been given. Yes, they said solve, but look at what you've been given. Number 1, this is quadratic because the highest power is 2. Number 2, it's an equation because it has an equal sign. Quadratic equations, I don't care who is in them. You solve them by factorizing. So you're going to write 3x squared plus 8x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now, the only way we're going to start factorizing is because we have it equal to 0 already. So here now, let's continue. Let's see. We want to now factorize this. How do we factorize this? We take the first term, we multiply by the last term. Okay? Because now we now have a number which is not a 1. So you take that, you multiply with the last term, you get 6. Then you put the factors of 6. 1 and 1. No, 1 and 6 rather. 2 and 3. 4 doesn't go into 6. 5 doesn't go into 6. Right? Then you see, which will add to give me 8? 1 plus 6? No, it will be 7. 3 plus 2? No, it won't work. So now we have a situation. Factorization will not work. That's the first method we always should try. But sir, in this situation, factorization is letting me down. What do? You now use the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula will be given to you in the exam. I don't know, at school, maybe not, but in your final exam, you'll be given. So here, let's put the quadratic formula so that you all know it. This is what it says. Write with me. X is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Have you seen? Students? So now what you do when you have seen that factorization doesn't work, you use the quadratic formula. What you need to, on the quadratic formula, you need to know that it is for ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the quadratic formula. In other words, a is the number before x squared. So here you're going to say a is equal to 3. B is the number before x. You say b is equal to 8. Then you hear him say c is equal to 2. Are we together? Now what we do, if you seen it, you now write the quadratic formula. X is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now what I want you to do is start with these things that are inside here. Let's go for them. So we're going to write b squared minus 4ac. This is going to be equal to, what's the b? It's 8. So it's 8 squared minus, then you open bracket, you say 4 times a, that's 3, times c, that's 2. Which is going to be 64 minus 4 times 3, that's 12, times 2, that's 24, which you get 40. Have you seen this? Now it is going to be x is equal to minus of 8. Here it now becomes b is an 8, so negative b is negative 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, we just got it to be 40, all over 2a, which is 2 by 3. You now get it by saying x is equal to minus 8 plus root 40 over 2 by a, that's 2 by 3, that's 6. Or you have x being equal to minus 8 minus the square root of 40. This will be over 6. What do you get here? Punch, please. Can you say root 40 Then for the first one, I want you to say minus 8. Then you now say, you get an answer. Then you say divided by 6. What is the answer, Lenny? Yeah, okay. Let me help you. Yeah, negative is still fine. Okay, wait. I want you to repeat. I want you to repeat. I'm just making sure that. You said it's negative what? 7.47. Then the other one? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Wait. Let me say root. Okay, for here, I actually got 0.279. Negative 0.279. Is there anyone else who got that? Yo, say it. Negative 2.387, which is 2.39, because they want three significant figures. Anyone with a question? Are we together? Are we together, students? Okay, so try factorization. When it doesn't work, then you must use the quadratic formula. If it doesn't work, if factorization lets you down, then you use the quadratic formula. Here's another one now. Okay, so you look at it, it's saying solve. Okay. And it's an equation. Okay. And it's a quadratic equation. Oh. X squared minus 8x plus 15 is equal to 0. You say, oh, okay. So here what you do is you now factorize. The only way to solve a quadratic trinomial is by factorization or the quadratic formula. You try factorization first. Here you see there's a 1, so you take the 15 as it is. You put its factor. Here it's 2, no, 3, it's 1 and 15, right? 2, no, 3, and 5. 4, no, 5 is already there, so we stop. Now, listen closely. This is the most important thing. Listen. Listen closely, students. We saw that if this is negative, it means one thing, not what you think. If this is a negative number, it means that you are multiplying numbers with different signs. If it's positive, it means the exact opposite. It doesn't mean you're multiplying bigger, guys. What? It means here, it means, let me change. Here, if it's 15, it means that the numbers multiplying have the same sign. It doesn't mean they're both positive. It means they have the same sign. So either they will be both positive or both negative. You come and you look for the sign here. If it's negative, it means they'll be both negative. Okay, the reason they are multiplying to give you a positive 15 is both of them are negative. When both of you are the same, your answer will always be positive. So that means there will be negative and negative. Will it give you negative 8? No. Negative 5 and negative 3? Yes. So here it would be now x. Can you see it? Are we together? So you now have it as, it's equal to 0. So you write it here on the next line to say x minus 3 multiplying x plus 5. This will be equal to 0. Now, if two numbers are multiplying to give you 0, it means they are both 0. This is a number, this x minus 3. This x plus 5 is a number, they're multiplying to give you 0. It means so here you'd say x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 5 is equal to 0. Here you now have x being equal to 3, and you have x being equal to negative. Are we together? X equal to 3 and x equal to negative 5. So are we fine on this? Please solve this one now. Your exercise begins here. Now I want to give you an exercise, and I want people to solve. I want people to solve, okay? I want to see how you can solve. This is the first one. This is number 1. It's exercise. Have you started with question number 1? Yes, do it well and let's see what answers you get. So I'm going to go through the assignment with you, but with the YouTube audience we're done. I'm going to give you an exercise, then you have to submit it at the end of the lesson. Then I want to see what marks you're going to get.